Wow. Cool. Oh, there I am. Hmm, okay. Expansive. Expansive study of the Gita. Gita. Bhagavad Gita. Hmm, hmm. Okay. I'm going to study the Bhagavad Gita. Going to look at my. See, where am I here? Yeah. Oh, what's going on with this? Should I go like that? Okay, there I am. I'm going to flip this. Here I am. So, just look what I wrote. I've gathered here. Oh, so the teacher got Tatesworth. See. Oh, I see my friend Shukla is right there. I'm going to put him away. So, unlike many scriptures, the Gita's goal is not to accumulate good or merit and minimize the bad. Oh, but to achieve a balanced state of mind that is superior to both. Wow, that's what yoga is. In fact, a dialectical synthesis of opposites. Hmm, I don't understand what dialectical means. Let's find out. No, select. Let's see. Define. Hmm, let's see. Dialectical. Oh, here's the dictionary. Is dialectical means relating to the logical discussion of ideas and opinions. So maybe I could say dialectical has to do with logical. Hmm. For now. Oh, sorry. Mhm. Over here it says concerned with acting through opposing forces. Dialectical opposition between artistic translation and transcription. Mhm. As we go back to over here. Okay. Hmm. So, so unlike many scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita's goal is not to accumulate good or merit, like good karma, and minimize the bad or purify the bad karma, like in Buddhism, but to achieve a balanced state of mind that is superior to both. Oh, that's what yoga is. In fact, a dialectical synthesis of opposites. So dialectical means that there's opposites, that there's good and bad, and synthesis is like, mm, What does the word synthesis mean? Ah, what does the word synthesis mean? Let's go look it up. I don't know. Define synthesis. The synthesis, a combination of ideas to form a theory or system. So the synthesis of intellect and emotion in his work. So combining the production of chemical compounds by reaction from simpler material. Oh, that's in chemistry. So you can think of the synonym for synthesis would be combination or union. Hmm. Let's go back here. So the union of opposites, like good and bad, maybe. The inherent, I'm reading here, the inherent tragedy of fighting for good is that good and evil are actually two sides of the same coin. So if you amplify one, you simultaneously energize the other. Oh, so if you try to be good, it will increase your badness that you're hiding, your shadow. Wow. Well intentioned people battle against evil, not realizing they are making it stronger by doing so. This paradox has confounded humans since the dawn of time, but its result will be revealed as we proceed. There's nothing simple about it. However, Arjuna has a lot of learning before he will properly grasp this. It's a good one. Let's look at this one. Hmm. Geeta for Scott Tatesworth. This chapter 4. Oh, lesson 4. So Gita, maybe I should put Gita lesson 4. Lesson 4. Oops. That's what that's about. Let me hide the. Hmm. Okay, January 4th. Da, 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 da. So this is actually from chapter 2 of the text, verses 1 through 16. It's called Unitive Reasoning. Features a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna and encourages Arjuna to overcome his dejection and take action. Krishna begins to teach Arjuna about the importance of yoga and unitive reasoning, which contrasts with ordinary dualistic thinking. So this is in chapter 2. Woo! Which contrasts with ordinary. So unitive thinking is contrast with ordinary dualistic thinking. Hmm. So if I have a question. So if there's unitive thinking and dualistic thinking, are those two opposites? Then if they are, then that would be another dualistic kind of thinking. So there's the unitive thinking and dualistic thinking. But having them separated is a dualistic kind of thinking. So then how do you solve that problem? So, so the need for detachment from impulsive behavior and turning inward to achieve spiritual clarity and union with the Absolute. The chapter also discusses the high points of Samkhya philosophy and introduces yoga as a path of spiritual penetration beyond rationalism. The document includes exercises for the reader, such as reflecting on an important teacher in their life and analyzing Krishna's teachings in verse 11 through 16. Okay. That was brief. Hmm. Beyond good and evil. Oh, what's this about? Where did Nietzsche say in his Beyond Good and Evil something like, doing for love goes beyond good and evil? The quote you're referring to is from Friedrich Nietzsche's book, Beyond Good and Evil. Hmm. There's the link to it. Boo boo quiet. Nietzsche, what is done out of love always takes place beyond good and evil. What does that mean? The exact phrase is that which is done out of love takes place beyond good and evil. Hmm. Nietzsche suggests that actions motivated by love transcend traditional moral judgments of good and evil. Hmm. Love, in his view, operates on a different level, free from societal norms and ethical constraints. For Nietzsche, moving beyond good and evil refers to moving beyond herd morality, where free spirits and noble traits are labeled evil. Hmm. Nietzsche has a distinction between master morality versus slave morality. Mhm. The people with the master morality think of themselves as good, as good, noble, powerful. To think of in the aristocratic sense. When they encounter others that are not good, they consider them bad, weak, petty, ignorant. With slave Judeo-Christian morality, it's the opposite. The masters are looked down on and considered evil, and only then do the slaves reflect on themselves as good, as they don't act like the masters. So there are multiple dichotomies: good versus bad and good versus evil. Hmm. It's not clear whether Nietzsche actually advocates master morality in some specific forms or some other healthy, life affirming, authentically powerful way of life that is somehow more transcendent. But he definitely wants society to move away from slave morality, therefore beyond good and evil. He critical of this part of servile Christian slave morality. However, many other sorts of love in the other senses of the more nuanced ancient Greek categories of love that they had, he would consider very healthy and life affirming and essential to driving a good life. Eros, Philia, Philautia, Gorge, etc. Different types of living then why is there to have any different terms for these sorts of things? Otherwise, we get stuck in the vague ambiguities of reference. Then they'll call the DPTs. Nietzsche would likely criticize the symposium for its metaphysical idealists. Mm-hmm. Appreciate its remembering. Yeah, Nietzsche had a very harshly critical view of Platonism, seeing it as a philosophy that fosters a fear of change and a desire for stability in the face of human fragility. He believes that Platonism, with its emphasis on metaphysical ideals and otherworldly realms, represents an intellectual cowardice that seeks to escape the challenge of human existence. Nietzsche argues that the Platonic notion of a fixed and eternal realm of forms, including the form of the good, is an attempt to impose a static order of the inherently dynamic and changing nature of reality. Nietzsche's critique of Platonism is part of his broader rejection of metaphysical, theological, teleological accounts of value. He sternly opposed asceticism that devalues life by elevating abstract ideals above the concrete realities of human experience. He saw Platonism as a form of malicious. Hey, how do you bring it down? Oh, of malicious philosophy that suppresses the senses and passions in favor of an unreachable ideal. Hmm. If you assume that life is meaningless, mm, mm-hmm, mm, mm, mm-hmm. Brahma Vidya. Mm, 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 mm. Mm. Cuando, cuando vuelva a comer, lo como. Cuando vuelva a comer, lo como. Mm, mm. Ya comí. Ujú. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, ujú. Mm, mm. Mm. Mhm. Brahmavidya, the Mahabharata, one of two major Sanskrit epics of ancient India, the other being the Ramayana. Contains over 100,000 couplets, 1.8 million words. Mm, the Kauravas, sons of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Duryodhana, Pandavas, King Pandu, Dhritarashtra's brother, mm, led by Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, senior branch by birth. The legitimacy of the succession was contested, leading to deep-seated jealousy and rivalry, particularly from Duryodhana towards the Pandavas. Mm, The conflict escalates over many years, marked by dice games, exiles, and failed peace negotiations. This ultimate concentrates in devastating Kurukshetra War, 18-day battle fought on the plains of Kurukshetra. The Pandavas, aided by Krishna, ultimately victorious, but at a tremendous cost of lives, including many revered elders and warriors. Hmm. The Mahabharata is far more than just a war story. It's an encyclopedic work that weaves together dharma, righteousness, and duty. The theme constantly explored throughout dilemmas faced by its characters. It is truly right when confronted, conflicting loyalties, family versus justice. Personal. God Gita, which you're reading, is a pivotal fiction within the Mahabharata. Mm-hmm. Artha, Dharma, Moksha. Okay. Mm. Vyasa, right? Yana Vyasa. Mm. 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 mm, mm, mm. 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 Whoa. Can download the Epic of the Baratas. Mm. 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 The Epic of the Baratas. The scene of the epic is the ancient kingdom of the Kurus, which flourished along the upper course of the Ganges. And the historical fact on which the epic is based is a great war which took place between the Kurus and the neighboring tribe, the Panchalas, in the 13th or 14th century before Christ. Hmm. According to the epic, the Pandu Endri Rashtra, who was born blind, were brothers. Pandu died early, and Dhritarashtra became king of the Kurus and brought up the 5 sons of Pandu along with his 100 sons. Yudhirish, Yudhish, Yudhi, Yudhishthir, Yudhishthir, the eldest son of Pandu, was a man of truth and piety. Bhima, the second, was a stalwart fighter. Arjun, the third son, distinguished himself above all the others in arms, in martial arts. The two youngest brothers, Nakula and Sahadeva, were twins. Duryodhan was the eldest son of Dhritarashtra and was jealous of his cousins, the sons of Pandu. A tournament was held, and in the course of the day, a warrior named Karna, of unknown origin, appeared on the scene and proved himself a worthy rival of Arjun. The rivalry between Arjun and Karna is the leading thought of the epic. The rivalry between Achilles and Hector is the leading thought of the Iliad. It is only necessary to add the sons of Pandu as well as Karna were, like the heroes of Homer, God born chiefs. Some God inspired the birth of each. Some God inspired the birth of each. Yudhishthir was the son of Dharma or virtue. Bhima of Vayu or wind. Arjun of Indra, the rain god. Hmm. The twins, youngest, were the sons of the Ashwin twins, and Karna was the son of Surya, the sun, but was believed by himself and by all others to be the son of a simple chariot driver. Hmm. Hmm. Karna, the son of sun, the son of the sun. Maybe Christ. The portion translated in this book forms section CXXX IV to CXXX VII of Book 1 of the original epic in Sanskrit, Calcutta edition of 1834. The Gathering. Mhm. The Tournament. The Princess. Bhima and Duryodhan. The Advent of Arjun. The Advent of Karna. Whoa, what happened? Where did it go? Hmm? Okay, let's see. That's all for Mahabharata for now. Hmm, where's that? Maybe, oh, it went up to there. When I make a change, it goes to the top. Hmm. This is see, lesson 6, co-pilot summary. Oh, this is from chapter 2 of on Samkhya Yoga, specifically verses 39 through 53. There's ordinary reasoning and unitive reasoning. Ordinary reasoning is characterized by a fragmented and goal oriented approach. It is often influenced by desires, attachments, and the pursuit of benefits. This type of reasoning is described as many branched and endless in verse 41. It is associated with the conventional understanding of reality and is often swayed by the teachings of the Vedas, which focus on material gains and pleasures. Ah, ah, ah. But now there's unitive reasoning. Ordinary reasoning and unitive reasoning. So, so maybe ordinary reasoning involves dialectic of good and bad, opposites. Unitive reasoning, perhaps, is holistic, looks at the whole thing, or synthesizes, maybe. Let's see what it says. Unitive reasoning, on the other hand, is a more enlightened and holistic approach. It emphasizes the unity of reasoning, the importance of discarding attachments, and achieving a steady contemplative state. This type of reasoning is described as well founded and leads to a state of peace and contemplation. Verse 39 and 50 highlight the significance of unitive reasoning in transcending both meritorious and unmeritorious deeds. Mhm. Key verses. So, verse 39 introduces the concept of reasoning according to Samkhya and yoga, emphasizing the unity of reasoning to throw off the bondage of works. Hmm. Hmm. Mm. Mm. Verse. But verse 41 contrasts well-founded unitive reasoning with many branched and endless reasonings of those whose reason is ill-founded. Hmm. In verse 50 defines yoga as reason in action, suggesting that affiliating oneself with reason helps transcend both meritorious and unmeritorious deeds. Mhm. Verse 50 of chapter 2. Mhm. Practical application. The transition from ordinary to unitive reasoning involves moving away from a goal oriented and focusing on the action itself without being motivated by benefits and actions to inaction. It shifts attachment to inaction. The shift allows one to achieve a more enlightened state of being and build a foundation for intelligent engagement with subsequent teachings. So, by understanding and applying these teachings, one can achieve a steady contemplative state and transcend the limitations of ordinary reasoning. Let's see. Mhm. Wait a minute. Let's go. So that was a co-pilot lesson 6 summary. Let's look at this one. Unitive views. Oh, unitive views involving hallucinogens. This is interesting. Hmm. Merkur proposed Merker proposes an alternative to traditional psychoanalytic explanation of mystical experiences as regression to the solipsism earliest infancy. He does this by viewing unitive thinking as a line of cognitive development. Unitive thinking is a line of cognitive development and mystical moments as creative inspirations on unitive topics. So, unitive thinking and line of cognitive development is creative inspirations on unitive topics, utilizing classical self-reports by Christian, Jewish, Muslim mystics, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and modern Western peak experiences. Merkur argues that experiences of mystical union are manifestations of a broader category of psychological processes that manifest in scientific and moral thought, as well as in mystical, no, as well as in mysticism. So Merkur argues that experiences of mystical union are manifestations of a broader category of psychological processes that manifest in scientific and moral thought, as well as in mysticism. Unconscious as well as conscious unitive thinking is sometimes realistic and sometimes fantastic in patterns that are consistent with cognitive development in general. Mystical moments of unitive thinking may be considered moments of creative inspiration that happen to make use of unitive ideas, building on the psychoanalytic object relations theory that the self is always in relationship with an object. Marker argues that the solipsism of some varieties of mystical union always implies unconscious ideas of a love object who is transcendent. Here's another book by Daniel Merker, compelling evidence that the early Jews and Christians used psychedelics as part of their religious rites. Let's see what else can I find about Daniel Merker. Let's see, what can I learn from Daniel Merker and his writings? Daniel Merker, oh, he passed away 9 years ago, was a highly interdisciplinary scholar, primarily known for his contributions to the psychology of religion, religious studies, and psychoanalysis. Mhm. He held positions as a clinical psychoanalyst and research reader in the Center for the Study of Religion at the University of Toronto. From his writings, you can learn a great deal about the psychoanalytic study of mysticism and religious experience. Non reductionist psychoanalysis. Merker was known for applying psychoanalytic framework. Non reductionist psychoanalysis. Merker was known for applying psychoanalytic frameworks to religious phenomena in a way that, unlike some earlier Freudian approaches, was non reductionist. He sought to understand religious experiences on their own terms, not merely as symptoms of psychological pathology, but as legitimate and often profoundly meaningful psychological processes. Phenomenology of mystical states. He conducted extensive studies on the phenomenology of mystical experiences, examining diverse accounts from various traditions: Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Native North American, shamanism, etc. So, the phenomenology of mystical states. He conducted extensive studies on the phenomenology of mystical experiences, examining diverse accounts from various traditions: Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Native North American, shamanism. He explored the commonalities and differences in these experiences, particularly focusing on unitive experiences, experiences of oneness with the divine or ultimate reality, mystical moments, and unitive thinking. This is a key work where he analyzes how unitive experiences manifest and how they relate to cognitive processes, ecstatic the ecstatic imagination, psychedelic experiences, and the psychoanalysis of self actualization. So Merker also delved into the realm of psychedelic induced religious experiences, analyzing them through a psychoanalytic lens and exploring their potential for personal growth and self actualization. So, mm, and now number two, psychoanalytic approaches to myth and symbolism. And three, psychology of religion and its relationship to clinical practice. And four, Jungian psychology and ethics. And what else? In essence, Daniel Merker's writings are valuable for anyone interested in the intersection of psychology, religion, and culture, particularly for those seeking a deeper, more empathetic, and analytically rigorous understanding of mystical and spiritual experiences. So I copy, I tap copy, and then I go over to right here. Okay. So I put it. He suspects that there was an existence of an unbroken tradition of Western psychedelic sacraments from Moses and Manna to Jesus and the Eucharist. Most important, Merker shows that this was not a heretical tradition, but instead part of a normal Bible based spirituality, a continuation of the ancient tradition of visionary mysticism. Even when this practice became unacceptable to the religious orthodoxy, it was perpetuated in secret by Gnostics, Masons, and Kabbalists, as well as through the legends of the Holy Grail. Merker traces a long line of historical figures who knew of Mana's secret but dared only make cryptic references to it for fear of persecution. Mm-hmm. Right. So I so I could go like this, toot, toot, and then go like this maybe, toot, 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 and then paste it in here. Daniel Merker, related by another author, the Psychedelic Gospels, the secret history of hallucinogens in Christianity reveals evidence of visionary plants in Christianity and the life of Jesus found in medieval art and biblical scriptures, hidden in plain sight for centuries. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Samkhya Yoga uses a more analytical and enumerative method, while Jnana Yoga focuses on direct experiential knowledge and self inquiry. Mhm. Samkhya is dualistic, maintaining a clear distinction between consciousness and matter. Consciousness and matter, whereas Jnana Yoga often aligns with non dualistic philosophies, seeing the self as ultimately one with the divine. In the Gita, Krishna presents both paths as valuable and complementary. Samkhya provides the intellectual foundation, while Jnana Yoga guides the seeker towards experiential realization. In essence, while Samkhya Yoga and Jnana Yoga share similarities, particularly in their emphasis on knowledge and understanding, they can be seen as distinct margas with their own unique approach and philosophical basis. Hmm. 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 So, maybe I could copy. It could go like this. What? Go in the guitar. In the guitar. Hmm. Hmm. Whoa. You're gonna copy. Look, what happened? Oh no, I lost. Shit. Hmm. Hmm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, okay. Mm, mm. Mhm. Hmm. So here's an overview of the yogic path. So there's Samkhya, mm, philosophical analysis of reality. Go, discrimination between self and matter. Practice, intellectual inquiry, metaphysical dualism. Jnana yoga, knowledge and wisdom. Realization of the self, Atman as Brahman. Study, reflection, meditation. Karma yoga, selfless action. Liberation through detached service, duty, ethical living, offering actions. Bhakti yoga, mhm, devotion and surrender. Union through love of the divine. Prayer, chanting, worship, surrender. Raja Yoga, mental discipline and meditation. Mastery of the mind, union with self. Eightfold Path, Ashtanga. Hmm. Raja Yoga, Eightfold Path, Ashtanga meditation. Buddhist counterparts. So notice that, yeah, in Buddhism, there is a Sankhya. It's the, or the parallel is the Abhidharma, Buddhist metaphysics, compatibility. Both analyze reality, but Buddhism denies Atman and Purusha. Jnana Yoga, Vipassana, insight meditation. Both seek liberation through wisdom and insight. And there's Karma Yoga, right? Action, Eightfold Path. Both emphasize ethical conduct and intention. Then there's Bhakti Yoga, Pure Land Buddhism, Devotional Mahayana, devotion to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, mirrors Bhakti's surrender. Key philosophical differences. Mhm. Self versus non self liberation. Buddhism seeks nirvana, devotion, bhakti seeks theistic offering, centered on Krishna, Shiva, or the goddess. Buddhism is non theistic, but allows devotional practice towards enlightened beings. Mm-hmm. So let's copy this. Mm, yes. Mm, Yeah. Here's a thoughtful comparison of the Buddhist Eightfold Path and the yogic discipline, especially the eight limbs of yogas. While they arise in different traditions, Buddhism and classical yoga, they share profound overlaps in ethics, meditation, and spiritual development. So, Buddha's right view, the yogic counterpart is jnana yoga and swadhyaya, self study. Explanation: cultivating wisdom and understanding of reality. Right intention, tapas, discipline, ishvara pranidhana. Aligning one's wills with spiritual goals. Right speech, satya. Truthfulness, yama. Mm. So the difference between samadhi and nirvana. The self in samadhi, it is affirmed. Right? In nirvana, it's denied. Then the permanent self is denied. Ultimate reality is union with Brahman. In Buddhism, it's the realization of emptiness, shunyata. In liberation, may be temporary, leads to moksha. And liberation is permanent, cessation of suffering. Philosophy is monistic or dualistic, depending on school. And in Buddhism, it's non theistic, often anti metaphysical. Often anti metaphysical. Experience blissful absorption, or in the Buddhist way of or goal, the nirvana is peaceful extinction of desire. Are they complementary in practice? Yes, especially for modern seekers. Samadhi offers a path of inner stillness and union, useful for cultivating concentration and insight. And nirvana offers a path of liberation from clinging, useful for dissolving ego and suffering. Some contemporary teachers suggest that samadhi may be a stepping stone toward nirvana, especially in meditative traditions that blend yoga and Buddhism. Mhm. Very good. Mhm. 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 Hmm. So in Vajrayana Buddhism, there's deity yoga, mandala visualization, and mantra. In Raja Yoga of Patanjali, there's the Eightfold Path, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Inner alchemy, there's tantra, subtle body practices, channels and winds. In Raja Yoga, there's pranayama, pratyahara, kundalini awakening. In Tibetan Buddhism, there is realization of Buddha nature, non dual awareness. In Raja Yoga, there's union with the self and liberation, Kaivalya. Hmm. Symbolism, Vajra, diamond, thunderbolt, lotus, mudras. There's Om, chakras, lotus, postures, and mudras. Teacher role, Guru as embodiment of awakened mind, Guru as guide to samadhi and liberation. Both traditions emphasize mental purification, concentration, and transcendence of ego, through disciplined inner work. Vajrayana's tantric methods mirror Raja Yoga's subtle body mastery, though Vajrayana adds ritual and daily visualization as accelerators. Hmm. There's more there. Shared spiritual DNA. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's go to the. Oof, I could go on forever. Okay, let's see. Let's look at unity view and lost knowledge and practice it. Hmm, hmm. Did I not look at this one? Didn't I not add to this? Yes. Damn. Mer, cur, Vajra, Vajra, Yana. Let's see. Uh-oh. Okay. How come it doesn't go to the top? How come this one doesn't have a title? Dots. Dots. Mm-hmm. But at the end of a Dharma practice, I try to remember to dedicate the practice, thinking that any merit I may have accumulated, prefer to give it away to all others. I suppose that it's okay to dedicate it all to my kind mother in this life, but I could, by the number of all sentient beings in existence, and give it away to them. It's mind-boggling to imagine, almost inconceivable. Hmm. How could I be giving away hard-earned good to all other sentient beings? All my other sentient beings. Would I not run out of good karma and starve myself out of existence? Keep giving it away? Now, I know that there's a concept of Sanatana Dharma in Hinduism, and for certain Hindus, it would be another calling their religion. So that instead of saying my religion is Hindu, my religion is Sanatan Dharma, where Sanatana means eternal. So the religion is considered an eternal law, suggesting perennial philosophy, some kind of universal philosophy, and religion that should be agreeable to all. How confident are the masters of Sanatana to suggest that this is suitable for all? But I also detect that there's another use for the word Dharma. In this use, it would be expressed in lowercase d, uncapitalized in contrast to capitalized one. I appreciate this to mean that the Dharma is suggesting not merely a religion, eternal and good law, and a perennial philosophy, system, or doctrine. The word yoga comes to mind too, and scholars and authors are choosing to translate the practices they have considered calling is either the six yogas of Naropa or six doctrines of Naropa. Because in the word for religion could mean doctrine or it could mean yoga. It could mean it's a teaching. But now there's a slightly different meaning for the word dharma that I have been made aware of, which seems to make it a bit different from from what a beginning Buddhist encounters, and that is that dharma is one's nature and even one's duty. Well, it's one nature as a human to do human things, and a snake to do snake things, and a god to do god things. Even a plant to do plant things. If one cannot imagine how the soul of a plant could do plant things, then the nature would be to do one's duty. Goes against one's nature. That's interesting. Yeah, that it is able to reason out an alternative course of action that can seem to be going against one's nature. Like my friend Jorge said many times, where a group of us takes turns reading from meditation, is fond of saying that what distinguishes us as humans from is that we are able to reason out a course of action that might violate the natural courses of action. And Jorge gives an example of carnivorous animals versus humans that goes something like this. You wouldn't find a tiger or a lion deciding to become vegetarian, right? If given the motivating teachings, and I could count such teachings on the benefits of becoming vegetarian. But now back to the Gita. So I am finding the conversation between Krishna very interesting. It involves several considerations. How Krishna, how's Krishna going to get back into the game we are in? Has thrown in the towel, but I am not sure of Krishna that we don't die because so we're all immortal and never die. To go ahead and slaughter the human designated as the force of smile here. Supposedly inspired one to give up arms in the struggle. Mm, mm. Mhm. A license to kill that mm, morality or ethical rules given in the Dharma of the Gita. The concept of a just war also could be brought up, but being that the stage being set according to the story, it has been judged by the reader that it was a just war because the Pandavas were in rights. King and the dramatic events culminated in the Kurukshetra war and the Kurukshetra field playing out Dharmashetra. We summarize what happened. Three books or chapters. Search for which Upanishads of the 108 do scholars and commentators think may have been the ones from which the yoga and Samkhya concepts come from. Here, yoga and Samkhya. Here's the two of the six classical categories now. of Indian philosophy. In other words, what were the source Upanishads that went into making which key concepts came from which Upanishad? This is a good question for. Mm, mm, let's see. I could start a new one and call it. Paste it here. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, or maybe, or not. Or if no percentage. Hmm. Weightiness. Mm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Sorry. So I got I picked up some good stuff here. So mhm, see what I got. Hmm. So the Bhagavad Gita brings together lots of concepts from other sources from the Upanishads and others like maybe maybe a little bit of the Yoga Sutra potentially. Hmm. Well, looking at it from the six orthodox schools of Indian philosophy. So it says here the Bhagavad Gita is a profound synthesis of various philosophical and religious strands that were developed in ancient India. While it doesn't align perfectly with any single classical school as they later solidified, it draws heavily from foundational ideas that later became codified into these schools. It is crucial to understand that the Gita predates the full systematization of the six darshanas, philosophical schools, Samkhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, Vedanta. It's distinct, fully formed, mm, fully elaborated systems. Rather, the Gita represents an earlier stage where these ideas were more fluid and intermingled. Mhm. Source classical schools or proto schools and their weightiness. So there's so you have Vedanta, that's the Upanishadic thought. Weightiness, it's extremely high, and maybe even the highest. So the Gita is often considered a Vedantic text, an essence of the Upanishads. Its core metaphysical and spiritual doctrines are directly drawn from Upanishadic teachings. So here's the key concepts and where found. Atman Brahma, Atman Brahman identity, the supreme reality, Brahman, in the individual self, Atman, ultimately one. This is the central theme, especially in Advaita Vedanta. So maybe in Dvaita Vedanta, it's not acceptable that they are one. Hmm. Hmm. Upanishadic sources. So it comes from the Shandogya Tattvam Asi, thou art that, from the Brihadaranyaka, extensive dialogues on Atman and Brahman. The Kata Upanishad, Atman as the charioteer, the charioteer's master, immortal soul. Immortality of the soul. The body perishes, but the soul is eternal and transmigrates. Upanishadic sources for what? Hmm. For immortality of the soul would be the Katha in the Brihadaranyaka in the Chandogya Upanishads. Now, moksha, liberation, the ultimate goal of release from the cycle of birth and death, samsara. Upanishadic sources. All major Upanishads implicitly or explicitly discuss moksha. Oh, hmm, hmm, hmm. Knowledge. Hmm. The path of realizing the true nature of the self. Hmm. Where's that come from? It comes from all the Upanishads. They all emphasize vidya, knowledge, as opposed to avidya, ignorance. Now, the nature of reality. There's Maya and Guna. So, while not fully developed, as in later Vedanta, the concept of illusory nature of the world, though less pronounced than in later Advaita, and the three gunas, qualities of nature, are present. What are the sources? Das Vatara. It explicitly mentions Samkhya and Yoga and the gunas too. And there's the Mundaka Upanishad. Uh-huh. Higher versus lower knowledge. Samkhya, weightiness, very high. The analytical framework provided by Samkhya is foundation to the Gita's understanding of the universe, the human being. Key concepts were found dualism of Purusha, consciousness and self, versus Prakrit. Hmm. So the dualism of Purusha and Prakriti, consciousness, self, matter, and nature, the fundamental distinction between the observer and the observed. Hmm. Hmm. Geeta, chapter 2, Samkhya Yoga, is dedicated to this. Chapter 7, 13, 14, and 15 will delve deeply into Purusha and Prakriti and the gunas. Hmm. Okay. Upanishadic sources. Svetasvatara most explicit in its proto-Samkhya elements, mentioning Purusha and Prakriti, Kata, charioteer analogy, the three gunas. Mhm. That's found in the Gita chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. And that rates extensively on the gunas and their effects. Mhm.